So an interesting question from Amanda. Do you think men could write a similar or different book about us? Is there any female equivalent?
Yes, of course, you could write a book about individual women who have been hateful towards men or hold hateful views. A book was written called Women Should Hate Men, or Why I Hate Men, or something, in France. It's received a huge amount of attention and press and propaganda, and the argument has been very much that, you know, this is two-sided. Women hate men just as much.
Well, but it is. You say, it is incredibly mainstream. And then I was going to ask you to read a bit of the book, which was at the very beginning, which I think is the most beautiful piece of writing about the ugliest subject there is, and it really brings in, and just listening to you speak there, I feel really actually quite sad and upset. Could you read that bit that I asked you to at the beginning?
I no longer believe that depriving these groups of the oxygen of publicity is the best course of action, because we are kidding ourselves if we believe that they aren't superb propagandists already spreading their message like wildfire. And the spread of that message benefits from our careful silence, our choice to look away. So I don't think that they should be ignored. Not because those who spread hatred and sow division deserve a fair hearing, not to legitimize the rhetoric of extreme prejudice by suggesting it's one side of a valid debate, but because we cannot confront the real threat these groups pose unless we're prepared to look it directly in the eye. It allows these groups to claim the mantle of righteous grievance, posing as alienated victims when exposure to the bright light of day proves their ringleaders to be anything but. I wanted to lay bare the reality of a hate movement, the very existence of which we've completely failed to acknowledge. The only way it can be so cleverly camouflaged as to be almost undetectable is if its arteries creep outwards from that black heart of violent hate, wending their way through online pathways and webbing out across social media platforms, splitting and dividing into finer and finer capillaries, infiltrating chat rooms, reaching out through message boards, sniffing tentatively at the air and taking the leap out of the dank realms of the internet altogether, slithering offline, penetrating our pubs and sliding around street corners, twirling delicately up the wooden legs of kitchen tables, peeping into corridors of power, burrowing into institutions and workplaces, fanning out tendrils across talk shows and newsrooms, taking deeper and deeper root until they're part of the very fabric of our shared consciousness. Meaning that eventually, when the shoots sprout, the fruits bud, and the flowers bloom, their taste does not disgust us and their colours don't surprise us because they're familiar and known, even though their roots lurk in the very darkest depths and the same poison drips through the entire network of veins.
Can't you see it too? There's an elephant in the room.